Hi, welcome to this look at the UK 14-day weather outlook. Winter certainly returned with a vengeance earlier this week. I filmed this video in my garden, which is about 25 miles northwest of central London, and as you can see, the snow is falling quite thick and fast for a period of time at least, and it even started to accumulate. I don't think my magnolia took kindly to it, but is there more wintry weather on the way in the next week or two, or can we expect something more spring-like? Well, I'll begin by taking a look at the air mass sequence. This starts at 12 GMT on Thursday the 8th of April, and what we can see here is an area of low pressure with less cold air pushing eastwards across the UK. But if you look up there to the north, the blues and purples are about to come back, it would appear. And indeed they do as we head into the weekend. This is 00 GMT on Saturday the 10th of April. What we can see by then is that the Arctic air has swept southwards across the UK, so temperatures will be taking a dip once more, and the weekend is looking pretty cold. Now, as we head into the early part of next week, things begin to change again. Here we can see an area of low pressure pushing across the UK. The light blues indicate less cold air returning as the Arctic feed is cut off. And by the middle part of the week, there is a signal for high pressure to become more influential. This is at 03 GMT on Thursday the 15th of April. On this particular model run, what we can see is high pressure really becoming centred, pretty close to the UK, indicating the likelihood of more settled and drier conditions, also potentially less cold during the days. We've just run through the precipitation sequence to accompany those air mass charts. Here we are again at 12 GMT on Thursday the 8th of April, and we've got outbreaks of rain up to the northwest of the UK. That's marking the boundary between its cold Arctic air to its north and the milder Atlantic air ahead of it. Now, in the short term, that very, very cold Arctic air plunges southwards, and the white shading across the UK indicates snow showers. This is at 09 GMT on Saturday the 10th of April. Those showers are probably going to be mostly in northern parts of the country. And if we look down to the south, to the southeast, there's the possibility of longer spells of rain, sleet and snow, which are associated with weather fronts. There is some uncertainty about how much influence they're going to have as we head through the weekend, and just how far northwards they will spread. If they go slightly further south, they're going to keep the precipitation with them over northern France rather than into some parts of the United Kingdom. But if we just run this a little bit further into Sunday morning, what we can see is the possibility of some of that precipitation on its northern edge turning to sleet or snow at times in southern England. It is something to keep an eye on. The details are, as I say, somewhat uncertain, but there is the potential there for some sleet or snow. Now, as we head through next week, areas of showery rain move across the United Kingdom, but by Thursday, as I mentioned, this model sequence shows high pressure building, so it's a dry picture by then across virtually the whole of the country. Just coming back to the risk of sleet or snow in the south this weekend, here's the chart for 09 GMT on Sunday the 11th of April. It's from the same computer model run, and we can see here it's showing the possibility of snow into southeast England and perhaps East Anglia. As I say, the extent of that risk is a little bit uncertain. If we just take a quick look at the Meteo France model sequence for the same for this weekend to give another view of how things may develop. Here we go, and through Saturday, snow showers affecting northern Scotland and parts of northern England. In the south, it's showing a greater likelihood of rain showers rather than sleet or snow. It's perhaps been a little bit conservative here with the snow risk, but we'll see. And if we just run it through to its conclusion at 06 GMT on Sunday the 11th of April, we can see there is a possibility of some longer spells of rain in the southeastern corner, and it's just hinting at those turning to snow in places. So it's less keen on that on periods of snow in the southeast than the GFS model sequence was. So things are pretty marginal in the south this weekend, but it is worth keeping an eye on the forecasts just to see if that snow risk really does develop. In terms of temperatures that we can expect, here we are at 15 GMT on Saturday the 10th of April. By this point the cold Arctic air has pushed back down across the UK, and you can see maximum values are very low for the time of year. We've got 5 to 7 Celsius north to south across the UK. GFS does have a tendency to under forecast maximum temperatures a little bit, so perhaps we can add a couple of C onto those values, so perhaps 9 in parts of the south will be closer to the mark. By Wednesday the 14th of April, as we lose the Arctic feed and the air mass begins to warm up somewhat, we can see that has a corresponding effect down at the ground level. Temperatures here shown to be around 12 Celsius in southern and central parts of the UK. It's still cooler further north. And again, add a couple of Celsius onto the values being shown on this chart, and we may be up to 14, 15, perhaps even 16 in the south, much closer to where we should be in the middle of April. In terms of nighttime temperatures, I think it's worth just bringing up a couple of charts to illustrate the potential, because we are getting to the time of year when farmers and growers are keeping a close eye on nighttime temperatures to see what the risk of frost is. The one on the left is for 06 GMT, Saturday the 10th of April, and it shows values in much of the UK to be below freezing point, several degrees so in the north. It's a little less cold in southern counties. If you remember, that's where we may have that precipitation just keeping things less cold due to the cloud cover. On the right, the minimum temperature chart is for 06 GMT, Wednesday the 14th of April. Now, by then, the air mass is forecast to have warmed up. Daytime temperatures are going to be higher, but this is suggesting that although the minimums are 1, 2, 3, 4 Celsius above freezing point across the UK, or virtually across the entire UK, there is still the possibility, if clear periods develop, of ground frost forming virtually anywhere, because for an air frost, temperatures need to drop below 0 Celsius, but a ground frost can occur when the air temperatures are 1, 2, 3 or even 4 Celsius above zero. So it suggests that even as the air mass warms next week, the risk of frost isn't really going away completely. Now, is there cross-model support for the transition next week? Well, here's the ECM chart for 00 GMT on Thursday the 15th of April. It's also showing less cold air returning. We can see those greens across most of the UK by then. Looking at the Canadian model for the same time, there are differences in the synoptics and the details, but the thing to focus on here is the air mass temperatures over the UK, and again we can see the greens indicating a less cold air returning. So yes, there is support for temperatures to rise after that Arctic blast in the first few days. Looking further ahead, really to the end of week 1 and through into week 2, here we've got the European Ensemble model showing air mass temperatures, and the key things to note really are the drop in the short term, that's the northerly plunge, and then 850 HPA temperatures, air mass temperatures recover, and by the middle of April they're back to around -1 Celsius, so or close to zero, pretty much where they should be for the time of year. That's for London, and this one shows a similar pattern. It's for Aberdeen, although the mean is somewhat lower through the middle part of the month. It's close to -3 Celsius. But again, it's really what you'd expect. You'd expect temperatures to be lower as you head further north in the UK. Now, if we take a look at the GFS Ensemble, this is the American version. The chart I brought up here is for London, and it goes out to 16 days ahead. On the top half, we can see air mass temperatures again, and in the short term there's that dip as much colder air moves down from the Arctic. And then there's an upwards trend, and by the middle of the month, values are back to around the 30-year mean. A big spread then develops, as you would expect. The further forward you go, the more the model runs will diverge from each other, so you'll get a bigger range of possible solutions. We can see maximum temperatures around +10 Celsius, minimum around -10. So that's a 20 Celsius spread at the 850 HPA level, which is about 1,500 meters above our heads. But I think the takeout here is that the 850 HPA temperatures are shown to increase later on once we get beyond the middle part of the month. That's or at least most of the model runs are showing that. On the bottom half of the plot, precipitation, it's not an overly wet picture. You can see in the short term the snow row actually reaches 29, which is out of a maximum of 33. So that's suggesting a high likelihood of snow falling, but not necessarily accumulating in the next few days. But then the snow row values decline markedly as it becomes less cold, and it's really rain which is going to be falling out of the sky as if anything does, as that Arctic feed is cut off. But I think again, it's not really looking particularly wet. There is the chance of showers or long spells of rain really going throughout this period, but it certainly doesn't look like a washout. Now, if we jump up to Manchester, it's actually a very similar profile. Again, air mass temperatures recover. There's a chance of showers or longer spells of rain, but it's not looking particularly wet. The Glasgow equivalent, what we see here is that it takes longer for the air mass temperatures to get back to the 30-year average. So it's suggesting that colder air will be more reluctant to move away from northern parts of the UK. And again, that is really what you would expect with a pattern where we're seeing where that cold is coming down from the north. In terms of precipitation, what we see here is it does look wetter. There's a greater chance of rain as we move forwards into and beyond the middle part of April, but it's not looking overly wet. Just to give a snapshot view of the rainfall, this is the 10-day accumulated plot from the GFS model. So it's just one run, it's not the ensemble, but I think in this case it's reasonably representative of a good deal of the ensemble data. What we can see is in millimetres, we've got 20 or 30 millimetres being forecast to fall in the next 10 days across parts of the northwest. Further south and east, it's generally a drier picture with maybe 10, 15 millimetres, in places even less than that. I think one thing to note is there's quite a wet picture being shown down over northern France. So it wouldn't take a great deal of adjustment for some of that rain to push further northwards into southern and central parts. Now, to look at the temperature outlook in a little bit more detail, here is the data table for London showing forecast maximums from all the runs in the GEFS model for the next 16 days. Each column is essentially representing one day. The yellows, light yellows, are showing the range of between 11 Celsius and 15 Celsius. The light greens are between 6 and 10 Celsius, with the dark greens between 1 and 5 Celsius. Now, in the short term, it's mainly the light greens and the yellows which are dominating, but as we go beyond the middle of the month, what we can see is there's an increasing number of dark yellowy orangey colours there, which is the next category up, suggesting temperatures of 16 to 20 Celsius. The number of runs showing that warmer category remains in a minority. It only reaches a maximum of 39% on Wednesday the 21st. But nonetheless, what we can see from this is the amount of greens decrease steadily, and the amount of light yellows and dark orangey yellows do increase later on. So there's clearly an upward trend here in temperatures, maximum temperatures. Just taking a look at minimums, again for the next 16 days. In the short term, the dark greens dominate. They're in the 1 Celsius to 5 Celsius category. The blues, which are 0 Celsius to -8, increased to 29% on Sunday, the 11th of April. But then later on, the light greens and light yellows start to increase. And towards the end, what we can see is the dark greens, which would indicate the potential for ground frosts, are down to about 20 to 30% in the last few days of the model run. So it's suggesting that the frost risk in London and southern England will be diminishing as we go forward through the next 16 days, but it's not entirely going to be removed. If we just go up to Glasgow to compare what it's looking like in the north of the UK, here we are with maximum temperatures. In the short term, the dark greens are really in the ascendancy with between 60 and 80% of runs. Then as we get to middle April, light yellows start to appear and they reach a maximum of about 39% on the 20th of April. And then right at the end, there are a few of those dark yellowy oranges, which are the 16 to 20 Celsius category, but they are really in a small minority. But again, the signal here is for maximum temperatures to be picking up through the next 16 days, but to be at a lower level than in southern parts of the UK. Just looking at minimums for the Glasgow area, here we can see in the short term, blues really ruling the roost, 100% on Friday the 9th, Saturday the 10th and Sunday the 11th. So it's suggesting that all of the runs in the ensemble are forecasting temperatures to dip down to or below 0 Celsius. Later on, the number of blues decreases markedly, and by the end, the last few days, it's down to 10 or 20%, with dark greens between 40 and about 55, 60%, and the light greens increasing. So what we're seeing here is a warming trend once again, but it's not. It's from a lower base, and temperatures are forecast to be lower than they are in the south of the UK. And although the frost risk is diminishing, it's still quite significant even towards the end of this plot. So I think certainly the frost risk will be greater in the north of the UK than in the south later on this month, and that's very much what you would expect. So to try and summarise the next 14 days, we start with rain in the north moving southwards, and that's followed by a plunge of very cold Arctic air. Snow showers become possible in central and northern areas, and there is a chance of longer spells of rain, sleet or snow affecting the south for a time. The extent of that risk is somewhat uncertain, with computer models taking the precipitation either a little bit further north or a little further south, and if the latter happens, then it really stays dry in the south and the rain, sleet and snow just make a beeline for northern France. Towards the end of the first week, temperatures edge up back towards the average. Week 2, temperatures are likely to be closer to the average generally. If it will tend to be colder in the north than in the south. There's the chance of showers or longer spells of rain as we head through the period, but it's not looking overly wet. Nighttime frosts remain a risk, particularly in the north, but the chance should generally be reducing. So that's the summary. I hope you found this video useful and enjoyable. If you did, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Thanks very much for watching now. Bye.